Hello, mayors and mayoresses. How are you? I hope you're well. We're here to start another episode of Bahia de Barbosa. If you like this series, please leave your like here at the beginning of the video. Check your subscription. Sometimes you think you are, but you're not. And if you have the option to hype, thank you so much if you use it here in this episode, okay? Well, we're taking a walk here through our industrial district on the east side of the map, here in the easternmost part of our Bahia. And well, the demand, I'll give you a chance to guess which demand is still sky high. Yes, exactly, the industrial one. And we're going to expand here. Our district still has plenty of room to grow. And I plan to finish this industrial area today in this episode, and maybe even start a little bit of our Chinese city. The avenue here is really nice, right? There aren't any industries facing this avenue, and our industries are always located inside the neighborhood. I'll even go back here to show you the street that actually gives access to the industries. And here it's already a 100% industrial environment. There's nothing else in this neighborhood except these warehouses and these industries. I even changed the colors a bit to get this blue. And from up here, we could see a lot of those little blue roofs, which are pretty common in Asian countries, right? On the warehouses anyway. So I wanted to bring that old similarity. Here we don't have warehouses, interestingly enough, right? So there ended up being a lot of gray roofs. But anyway, these empty spaces here, I also want to add some details to them, okay? But first I want to finish this side with industry. We have a traffic hotspot here, which, man, is going to be a big problem. Because this traffic here, it's to enter this tunnel and make the passage to the Eastern European city, our famous Eastern European village. And well, the traffic jam stretches all the way here. Look, this is where everything is getting stuck. Look, it's right at this traffic light. From here on, the way is clear, but for those going to the other side, the way is blocked. We're definitely gonna have to, completely redesign our Eastern European village. And who knows, maybe even use more over here. Look, from this part here, take some of these plots. These farms, they're employing 109 people, okay? In about the same area as the farms, we have 15,000 employees here, so sorry. But it might even be economically profitable, right? The agribusiness industry here, but when it comes to job creation, it's very little. And it makes sense, right? Because it's kind of automated work, right? With the tractors and all. There are 4 tractors here, right? In other words, 4 workers can manage a huge field of grain crops here. So maybe I'll ask these farmers here for the land back. But anyway, let's take care of the industry here and see how things turn out. Well, we have a connection here that links this sector with this sector. But I think I'm going to add a second connection a little more over here to ease things up a bit there, right? Well, if this is a street that comes in the upper street, it's going to go back in the opposite direction. If this is a street that comes in, this one here is going to be a street that goes out. So it's going to come all the way along this path, and we'll go here, look through here, also in a one-way direction. I think it's going to make the traffic flow easier here. And let's fill this area here with industries. So industries with a depth of 6, meaning using the maximum land capacity, and also to employ more people. Look, just here we have this zoning facing the avenue and not the neighborhood street. To try to fix this, I'm going to put a pedestrian path here for it, reorganize the buildable zones for the other streets. But it placed them on these side streets, so I'm going to close it off here with a path as well. And then it will have zoning facing the street here, which is actually the one where I want to have industry. Same thing over here. I put a path and it adjusted the zoning area here. And we're going to occupy it. All right, great. Another sector created here. Now let's go over to this side. Well, and I think now actually zoning, right? you can see the importance of me having made a more squared-off zoning, right? It's really good here, very easy to zone, and also very practical for us to accommodate large industries. Well, and for now, since the demand is being met, right? We started the episode with 28.5% unemployment. That's right, 28.8. Let's see if we can lower it, right? Every episode, we check this, and it always turns out badly. Well, let's take advantage of these full demands here to start developing a bit. I don't know if I should take advantage of this demand to start developing our Chinese city here, or try to finish things up here once and for all on our American island. By the way, I even expanded into this neighborhood, dividing lots with low density so we can save some time, right? Nothing major. I put houses here and the attached medium density ones closer to the center, right? So we can keep this gradient of buildings. And it actually turned out pretty nice here. Over here too. Take a look. I placed these buildings from the content creator pack Modern City, right? And I tried putting some trees up here on the rooftops of the buildings, right? It turned out great, and it was only a test. I didn't do it on the others, but it's a good detailing option. We need residences here. So I'm gonna take advantage of these blocks that are closer to Bahia to put up some slightly taller buildings. And of medium density too, right? Let's bring more people and take the opportunity to fix these notifications here about insufficient customers in the businesses, which is already dropped, okay? Here, at least in the Californian city, there are few notifications compared to what there used to be before, right? In the New York City, right? Over here, look, there are way fewer as well, right? Here, there are a bit more. And anyway, I think little by little this is decreasing. So let's go fill this block. Man, it's pretty dense here, right? But I think it's fine. No, it didn't work out because the buildings here face the side streets, not the front, right? It doesn't make sense for us to have these little windows when you have a view like this from your window, right? They should be big windows. And that's the thing, how much we miss variety, right? The corner buildings in these regional packs. Look, all the blocks ended up being copy and paste of each other, right? It's kind of annoying. So at least for the corners, let's try to put a medium density corner building. I'll leave this here as a test to see how it looks. Look, the corner turned out nice, but the middle of the block, man, it's all repeated. Dude, there's a bit more variety now, but these two are still similar, and I doubt any new buildings will appear here. Unless I rezone. Maybe I'll put one here with affordable rent, which ended up kind of set back, right? I didn't like how it set back. I wanted it right next to the street. Okay, this one works. Now I'll fill in these blocks. All right, this part turned out like this. And back here, I'm gonna put regular medium density from the United States, not from any pack. And in this block, the Californian medium density row houses, just like the ones that are already in this block here. The middle of these blocks is filled with trees. All right, at this intersection here, we can have a square to bring a leisure option to the area as well. Well, I like this part here. I thought it turned out nice. And this part basically here, look, in this part of the island, right? From the highway to here, we have almost everything complete, right? On the whole island, there will only be a few businesses missing here that I want to put on this side road. But for that, I have to wait for the commercial demand to go up again, right? And here I also wanted to put a business on this avenue. After that, it's just a matter of detailing. But let's go back to the industry here because the industrial demand is already the highest of all. Man, I think before the industry, let's try to clear this low density demand first. Maybe here, look, let's put some houses. I think it doesn't hurt to do it here. Done, this part is finished. Just these little houses and it's done. It's tough for us to solve unemployment if instead of creating industry, we're bringing more people to live here, right? But the demand is calling for people, right? So we take the opportunity to try to finish what we started a long time ago and haven't been able to because of the pace of the demands. But now we're going to start creating jobs here again. Look, this side here can already be completed and this one too. Let's take this opportunity then to finish up this whole area between the avenues and the highway and have it all occupied by industries. All right, demand supplied. The low density residential demand is rising again. Shall we see how it would look here in our Chinese city? By the way, these are people who are going to live much closer to these industries than the people who are moving to the American island. Anyway, the concept of this city here, as I explained to you, is a city inspired by Chinese layouts. And they have these neighborhood streets connecting one block to another. But inside these blocks, there are many, many alleys that I'm going to try to replicate here. So I'm going to take the alley here, look. And actually, before zoning, let's see what lot sizes we have available here in the low-density Chinese area. Let's do a test. Look, 2x2, 3x3, we have those too. 4x4, no. There are 4 in depth, but not 4 across. Are there 5 in depth? No, so the maximum is 4 then. All right, so 4 in depth, 2 across, that's the maximum lot size. I used up demand to run tests, right? But it happens. Let's create the alleys then, based on this size finding. Well, I'll leave 4 in depth for the shops as well. There's space here for an alley, another here, and one more over there. I'll bring it, but maybe not all the way here. Well, I'm gonna do it so we can already define the width between one street and the other, right? There you go. And the internal layout part here, we'll just mess around with it. For example, here, look, cut it in half, right? These blocks, make a slight tilt here so we can keep the irregularity here. And it actually turned out nice. And here, on this other side, I'm going to do pretty much the same thing. Add some walking paths, but don't link the alley to this avenue. I only want this intersection on the avenue. So some walking paths will be used here too, see? To cut through the end of these dead-end streets. Well, I think this is a good example. I'll even complete it over here too, and we'll close off this side as a test. And here, at this end, the same thing. I'm going to use pedestrian paths to make this crossing, cutting the block in half and not creating another intersection here on this street. Well, I like the layout. I think if it stays like this for the rest, it's going to look really nice. And let's take advantage of the fact that the low-density residential demand is relatively high. How about we fill in here, huh? We have the low-density Chinese houses with a courtyard, and we have the regular low-density Chinese houses. I think this one is a bit more modern. Want to see? I think it doesn't really fit the older style that we want to have around here, right? So I'm going to save this style here, which is very beautiful, by the way. For more rural areas, that is further back towards the outskirts of the city, reaching some possible farms and a simulated rice plantation that I still plan to make. So let's put this one with a yard. Well, I'm gonna fill this whole street here and we'll get an idea of how it's going to look. Well, 4x4. And I think I won't leave these corners here for now, because there's a risk that houses will grow here, right? Facing the other streets. Look, it's already grown here. I think this is gonna mess up the layout here, but let's see. Let these ones grow first, although they all mess things up, right? So sometimes this mess here, it can actually be a good thing. Either that, or I would manually place these buildings here, but I think that would be more work. Well, let's prioritize chaos then. The disorganization that I think this area would actually have. All right, let's see how it turns out. We don't have water and sewage connections to the city. That needs to be reviewed. It's connected now. While the houses over there are taking up their space, we're going to put the industry back to take up its space. So let's close off these blocks here. I'll clear this out. And the demand is still really high. So let's go to the last sector we have left. Let's start here, right? From this avenue. And coming here to the left, from right to left, like good Western, actually Eastern writing. It looks like the demand is being met here. Not just met, but completely fulfilled. Well, then I'll wait a bit, right? I'll save this little spot here. I'll see which demand goes up first and we'll take care of it. If the low density residential demand goes up, it's a good deal, okay? Because even though we're bringing people to the map and these people need to work and need job openings, low density means fewer residents, right? For example, take these existing houses. Check out how great it turned out, man, with a strong Chinese style. For example, look, this house has 1 resident. That one too, and most have only 1. So there aren't many people here. And this is reminding me of a Chinese city I visited called Yangzhou. Man, and it's this city right here. Look, it's the most unique city I visited. I visited Beijing, the rural city of Jining, and the big city of Yangzhou. And it's really crazy. It's the most unique one here of all. I stayed at this hotel right here. Look, By the way, if you want, there are stories in the highlights on the channel's Instagram. So I walked down this avenue here and I came all the way to this bridge, right? And we have this intersection with this street. This is the main street that I made. Look, it's from the neighborhood, okay? And the rest, look, branching off from it, there are thousands of tiny alleys, right? And that's why I made these alleys look also vertically, because there are several. Look, there's this one. And over here, look, we have some too. And the style of the houses is just like the ones we're putting there too in our Chinese city, right? So we're basically following this here. Let's see if it works out. Look, both demands are rising almost equally. Let's see if we have a medium Chinese density. No, we don't, right? After the low, it already goes to the high. This one is the high with affordable rent, and this one is the normal high. We have low density commerce here. Look, from content creator Dragon Gate, which I don't know. Maybe could go here. Let's see how it looks. It's a little shop here too in the Chinese style. I think it could go here on the edge of this canal, at least so these people here have a shopping option, right? Well, and I think I'm going to make more streets here too. Not streets, alleys. Well, I'm going to keep working here. With the video's edits and cuts, if you want to see the uncut version and watch me make street by street, you can join the channel's membership club. The secretary level gives you access to the raw footage and also to episodes with early access before they are released. But for those of you who don't subscribe, nothing changes, okay? You'll keep watching your episodes on the same days, all nicely edited here, looking good. And of course, the editing always focuses on keeping everything really dynamic here. Man, I'm really enjoying completing these little layouts here, you know? I think my excitement is going to take me to these other super blocks here next to us, you know? Done, little layout finished here. Look, following the same pattern, ready to be zoned. And that's what we're going to do, right? For now, let's leave these parts here facing the avenues, okay? More reserved for a future business we might have. Other than that, we take the opportunity here to bring in residences. For example, here at these corners where neighborhood streets meet, putting a business, right? Whether we like it or not, it will also create some jobs. Let's go. Hit play here, wait for this side to grow, and now take care of the industries again. We're already here, man, with almost 13,000 job openings, okay? And let's fill this region even more and create even more job openings to employ our citizens. We're filling this up little by little as the pace of demand dictates, and demand is supplied again. Here, right, we managed to fill almost everything. Only the very last edge of the industries will be left. Demand for low-density residential is rising again since everything here is already full. It's looking really nice, man. I'm even going to fill in these gaps here with some trees so we can make things even denser around here. Sometimes, look, a house here doesn't grow with all the depth it should. And then these spaces are left over. I even thought about taking this square here, right, the columbarium, and moving it a little more over here so we can center it in the block. But then it will misalign the entrance with the temple, right? And I think this temple here can already become active again because it was turned off, right? Out of service because nobody came here. Now we have people living here. And here, the solution I'm going to use for this square will be just to extend a bit here, this texture, and complete here the fullness of the block and the square. Man, this really reminds me of my walks in Yangzhou. And it was in alleys like these, actually, that I found a Santana, you know? That older car, Santana, really beautiful. I found a Santana parked, right? It was really popular in Brazil. It's even on my stories. I remember I also found a kitten, and I petted the kitten a little. Man, I'm even gonna mix it a bit with these pine trees, because I also saw a lot of these pine trees in China, right? I stayed in a region further north in China, so it's a bit colder. And I think it's really more common. Man, I liked it. Look, after everything is filled in here with these trees, look, it creates a really cool effect. Very Chinese indeed. Here, we can even walk a bit in the alleys and enjoy how it's turning out, right? There are already some cars parked. Man, it's really similar, okay? The street doesn't remind you much, right? Because the streets there lack these markings. They're more of an American style, right? But look at these little alleys here, right? The little alleys are really well placed and they really remind me of streets I've walked on before. If you get the chance, though, few do. But man, China is an amazing country and I would definitely visit again if I had the means to do so, you know? But that's it, right? Here we have a canal, and from here we can already see the temple, all right? I'm putting this low density around our forbidden city here in the center, right? Because, man, these are buildings that are a bit more historical, right? I really wanted to have a more historical aspect here, you know? And the big Chinese skyscrapers, I'm going to build a little more over here, like a new city, right? So they're going to be grouped here in this part over here, okay? And here, along these roads, I'm going to build the Chinese housing complexes, which I also saw a lot of. There's some really tall buildings here, one next to the other, right? And they close off an entire block like this, man. Kind of like what I did here, look. But they're much bigger buildings, right? This is a common practice I saw in China. Many buildings are just copied and placed side by side because I imagine it must be some kind of housing policy they have over there. Low density is back. So more super blocks here will be divided and occupied. And coming back here to wrap up the last corner of our industry. Last or second to last, right? I don't know if this subdivision here will meet all the demand. But while we wait to see, right? I'm worried, look, about this here, look. Everyone wants to access our Eastern European village through here, right? And here, man, this wasn't meant to be a main access point, no. It's because everyone is getting stuck at this traffic light. And in fact, when you put a traffic light on an expressway, it's not a good thing, okay? Here, like it or not, it's an expressway. And I think it should be reworked in a future episode. Maybe actually making this an expressway here with a tunnel that will cut through the city, okay? So an express tunnel allows people to travel straight through underneath, like trucks accessing this industry. Or an overpass, right? An overpass to serve the same purpose. And we leave these roads here at ground level. Local roads and access roads for the inside of the neighborhood and the city. It's not something I'm going to do specifically in this episode, but just giving you some ideas for possible future projects. Well, and finally, use the last remaining area here to occupy this part of our industrial district. And after that, we run into a problem, okay? Because there's no more space to build industries, right? Maybe I'll do it here, but it's concerning because we pretty much built all of this industry here in this episode. We created a lot of jobs there, and our unemployment rate dropped very little, okay? It dropped by 0.5%. The industries here are still at level 1. Maybe if we level them up, right? They might take up a bigger share of the market and employ more people. Anyway, it's a good idea to level up the industries here. But just so we can wrap things up, right? Besides adding, I even placed some public services a few episodes ago, but let's take a look at how the coverage is. Well, there's access to healthcare right over there in the corner. Maybe a new clinic around here would be a good idea. I'll put one here because then it'll serve the rural communities we have over here. And taking a look at the schools here, right? I remember that a lot of people in the comments are saying that maybe the lack of jobs here in the city could be due to the education level of the citizens. And that's not really what's happening, okay? If we look here in the education tab, we can see that most of our population has higher education, okay? So the well-educated make up 13.8%, right? That's more than 50%, so more than half of our citizens here. Of these 430,000 inhabitants, more than half, at least 215,000, are well-educated or have higher education. Then you might say, Barbosa, what about the other half? That's important too. It's sad to say this, but it's also important that there are citizens with little education in the city, okay? Because there are jobs that a guy with higher education won't want to do, right? Well, I know it was like that in Site 1, and I imagine it's the same in Site 2, because it makes sense. Well, there are some areas here where we can try to expand the industry a little bit more, but I don't think it's much beyond that, okay? And everything seems very loose, very disconnected. And that's why we're going to look at it in detail now, where I'll first check how the pollution issue is going. Air pollution, pretty calm. Soil pollution. It happens a lot around here, right? Noise pollution goes without saying. It's very noisy here. And water pollution here, no. This pink here is actually surface water flow. But these large spaces here, I'll try to put in some remaining fields, right? To pretend this was once farmland expropriated and made into industry. Some fields still remain, but that's the idea, right? At least we can use these large blocks. Cattle farming can be implemented anywhere, right? It doesn't need fertile land, so it's better than leaving it empty. I'll add to this whole area here, and we'll create a cattle field here, so it fits well between these two sectors. First, I'll put it here, and taking advantage of this unused space, another field. Here, we can add one more as well. See, right? Making use of this space. Anyway, wherever I find a spot to add these fields, I'll add them. I'm not even going to get too close to the highway there, so we have some space here to plant some trees too. I'm planning to put a plot of land here, but I'll need to move it to the other side, or maybe I'll create another one over there. The problem is that it doesn't fit, but that's fine. I'll use the fake farm here. Look, in this spot. All right, here too, I think a little fake farm would look nice. Let's just close off this land here. Look, then that's it, okay? I don't think there's much to explore here with farm space. No, we made really good use of this area. And after that, right? Detailed tree mapping of the vegetation. So I'll start by placing some oaks here, look here, between the industries, the farms, and the highway. So little by little, I'll also fill in this vegetation and connect it, right? One thing here, look, then another, so everything looks more uniform. Here on both sides of the road, there's a lot of traffic. Man, this is something that really takes a while. It's hard work, but that's okay because good results come from things that take effort, right? And usually, almost always, they take a long time. So we don't stay stuck in the same monotony. I'm even going to make some paths here to simulate a park and have some breathing room here among all these factories, right? Here on this corner, I'm going to put some concrete to simulate a plaza as well. This big space here between the factories will also get some pathways, and it will also get some trees. Now, maintaining the trees along public roads, right? Like I did on this avenue, trees on both sides. I'm going to put them over here too. Even moving back a bit from this farm here, exactly to make space here for these trees. Here on the side, look, and then we stay here. Look, with the continuation of this tree planting, right, over here. Also, I'm going to use row planting here, look, which also gives some breathing space here for the avenues in the middle of so many smokestacks, right? Okay, and on the other side as well, here's what we have, but we'll need it here. I noticed a traffic light that shouldn't be here, so I'll remove it now. I think it's just in this spot. Now, this avenue here on this side, to also add a bit of landscaping. Some streets I think we can also update, add some plants and grass beds. On both sides, especially these streets that connect one industrial sector to another here on the side, right? It would be very useful. Look, this one too. In fact, it has farms on both sides. This upgrade is going to be really good. And lastly, right, just restore the mountain vegetation here, which I removed. And it's a bit strange here with nothing, right? So I'm going to redo this planning here. And here, look, on this other side as well. Now, there's even a lack of work in the industry, man. A lot of unemployed people. And the industry is having trouble hiring. Yeah, it's crazy. But we also have to help people get here, right? And bring public transportation lines anyway. Well, guys, so we're kind of going to have finished this whole new industrial district without solving our city's problem, which is the lack of jobs and the huge demand for industry. But it turned out like this. In the end, I liked it and thought it looked nice. Yeah, with the detailing here, the vegetation, the farms, and everything, it turned out pretty compact. I think it's a worthy and well-done division here between the two cities. All right? I'm going to put another fire station here, even though it's not necessary because there's already coverage. But this helps to improve the land value and increase the level of the industries. And a police station will also be welcome here. Look, in this area. Some leisure options for the workers' lunch break. I think it's welcome. So I'm going to put a little square here. After all, we want high-level industries around here. Well, and to finish the episode, I'm also going to wrap up here with what we've already been using. Low-density Chinese residential lots. They're already filling in the empty spaces here too. All right, it's done here, right? We'll just need some commercial demand so we can fill in these sides of the canals, right? Also, now that I think about it, we'll need public services here too. Well, we don't have a clinic, so I'll put a small clinic. maybe here, look, there's an empty block, so I'll put it here. Look, a small clinic. Just to provide this area with public health care. There's also a Chinese elementary school. And we can already place it somewhere. I think I'll put this school here. I'll even put 2. I'll put another one in the other corner. For higher education, high school actually, we also have one here, and it's really big, man. I think it can go here. Look, I'll put it here. And then it'll look nice as a division between one sector of buildings and another sector of affordable rental buildings that we'll make in the future. When we expand the Chinese city, we have a Chinese fire department, right? This one's big. There's also a small one. For now, I'm going to place the small one. I'll put it here on this corner, which could be good. I'll leave it here. And the Chinese police station, man, I can put it here. And I think I'll put it here because it's close to the temple. Well, it's a tourist area. There's a police station. I think it'll be well positioned here in the middle. Well, we can put these Chinese gates here. I think I'll put it here at the entrance of the street that cuts through the Forbidden City, see? I'll put one here, another one here at the end of the street on this side over here. I'll place them at every entrance, including the main one. They'd look good. But this isn't a street, right? That doesn't fit, so that's fine. And that's it, guys. It's looking really cool. When we put some taller buildings here on the side, here in the back, it'll really look like a Chinese city. It already does, right? Really looks like a Chinese city. And I'm going to end the episode here, right? We finally managed to finish this huge industrial sector. Even though we're lacking workers, even though we have a high unemployment rate here, even though we've already used almost the entire map to build industries, I'm about to delete this and make everything industry, okay? But then there wouldn't be space for an Eastern European city, right? Anyway, these are the kinds of things that have been discouraging me a bit, because what I really wanted was to start building this here, to do construction and all that. This industrial construction part, to be honest with you, I'm already getting a bit tired of it. That's why I'm trying to make the episodes really diverse, you know? We did some work here, but we also did a little bit in the Chinese city and also a little bit in the American city, right? Dividing lots anyway. There's residential demand, even though there's a high unemployment rate. And the industrial demand is high because we have a lot of vacant buildings. Taxes are low, which helps. I might even raise the industry tax here. There's a lot of job availability. I think that's what matters most, and there are a lot of skilled jobs. So the issue of education really isn't a problem. Industries here are already leveling up. This one's at level 2 now. Before, all were level 1, but some have reached level 2. I believe that with public transportation, it will increase even more, and in the next episode, let's try to integrate this here with the rest of the map, with the public service, and improving this funnel here, this passage, all right? So, my dear friends, I'm going to end the episode here. Thank you so much to everyone who made it this far, to the end of the video, to the end of the episode. You are amazing. You are awesome for sticking with me until now. Thank you also to our secretaries who support us and will get to see this episode in advance, as well as the raw version. Thank you very much to the council members who have also supported me ever since I started the channel's membership club. To them, my sincere thanks. And thank you also to our vice mayors, whom I want to mention by name here. Rafuxo 21, Pedro Mendez Nagal, and Jose Fernando Sens. All right, my sincere thanks for your collaboration, for your support, for your participation. We're always together. A big hug to everyone. See you next time. See you in another episode solving all these big problems here.